Have you ever realized a new year started because the fireworks outside of your apartment window drowned out millennia murdering you for the 37th time? Oh yeah, that's happening. Whoa. Yeah! If that's been you, then I imagine you also didn't give much thought to reaching the end of the year, a time where we're supposed to sit alongside the people we love and look back on how our time was spent. Hey, I get it. The grind is perpetual. And I know I can't be the only one like this. So if that's been you, then I invite you to join me as we reflect through the media we love during this year's Advent of Insight. Each day from now until the 25th, we're going to look for moments in video games that best reflect the human experience. And this year, I can think of no greater theme than resilience. Without getting into the details, 2025 has required a lot out of me. Both mentally and physically. Demands were high, motivation waned, and the thoughts got unsettled. And yet, we're still here, keeping one foot in front of the other. Why? None of you can answer that for me. And I can't answer it for you. But it doesn't hurt to explore how others answered that question for themselves. So I'm dubbing this first Advent of Insight, Through the Fire. We're going to look back for moments that truly capture the indomitable human spirit. Speaking of reflecting on the past, I don't think I've ever properly introduced myself to you all. The channel is called Champion Analysis, but somewhere along the way you started calling me Champ for short. And honestly, I've grown really fond of it, so we're sticking with it. So, how will your champ guide this year's celebration of resilience? Rule 1. Each moment has to actually fit the theme. You can reframe anything into something else if you're creative enough, but my justification for each moment needs to be clear and backed with convincing evidence. Rule 2. For the sake of diversity, there can only be one entry per series. I don't want the celebration to get steamrolled by just one franchise. Rule 3. Each entry will be from a game I've either played or fully witnessed. This is less of a rule and more of a disclaimer. I don't want to write about anything I don't know. I can deliver a far better entry if I've experienced it firsthand. It's the ability to convey the raw experience that makes for a more entertaining video, in my opinion. So if you don't see your favorite game or moment on the list, there's a good chance I just haven't played it yet. Also, don't get upset about the order. This is less a ranking series and more a self-contained reflection piece for each day. Granted, I'll probably save the best scripts for last, but that doesn't reflect any opinion about the subject compared to another. Besides, there's a veritable ocean of content out there, so if it makes the list at all, it's already in rare company. It's like 25 out of, what, a million? Doesn't matter if you're number 25, you're still in the league. And with that, let's reflect and celebrate moments of resilience. Welcome to the Advent of Insight. "25. Oh dude, my Unk status is gonna be on full display with this one. I'm not sure how to do this entry exactly, because League has had so many retcons over their lore that, in its current state, people don't know if certain champions canonically even exist anymore. At the time of his release in 2015, Ekko had a biography, a short story, and a cinematic backing up his character. But then, Riot decided Arcane is now canon, a decision that was clearly made after seeing how successful Arcane was, rather than being planned from the beginning. It must have been a big wake-up call for Riot to see that their esports scene wasn't what made League of Legends stand out. The company was coasting on a phenomenally talented art team and had no idea how good they had it. And they still don't. Salt aside, the details of Ekko's story are now different. And don't even get me started on how 2XKO hints at Ekko's old lore instead of Arcane. I'm just going to include everything regardless of inconsistency. Because to the credit of everyone who has contributed to Ekko's story, the heart of the character always remained consistent. Ekko is a boy who sees the best in the worst of places. At the time of Ekko's release, he was the only character that gave us a different perspective on Zon. We had villain after deranged villain after cartoonishly deranged villain coming from this region, making it seem like all of its denizens were just terrible people. On some real pilty propaganda type shit. Back then, Zon was simply the place where all science is unregulated. Only the most morally bankrupt inventors and researchers gathered there in the pursuit of profit and ambition. Anything that would have been restricted by Piltover's ethics. Since then, Zon has been rewritten to be more of a dark reflection of Piltover. It is the real cost of Piltover's negligent pursuit of excellence, where the hazardous consequences of their shining progress are dumped on the impoverished Undercity. Zon is still where unorthodox research thrives, but it's framed as a byproduct of Piltover's negligence. The governing body of Piltover doesn't care to enforce the same ethical regulations that make their city look so perfect. That neglect allows for a culture of survival of the fittest, where people will accrue power and wealth by any means necessary, regardless of the human cost. Whole sections of Zon are polluted and dangerous because of the reckless industry that reigns over the city. Just breathing in the air is unsafe for the average human. This is where Ekko was born. While many understandably use their impoverished origins as motivation to escape, Ekko doesn't want to leave. He loves Zon and would rather see it improve. Besides being a genius, Ekko is a very observant kid. He doesn't just see misery around him, he sees people who work hard every single day, despite their living conditions. People who manage to build a thriving culture out of a wasteland. It is that resilience that inspires Ekko to pursue his passion for science. He is incredibly resourceful, able to make wondrous things from the leftover scraps scattered all over the city. And when he gets his hand on that fabled hex tech, he becomes the boy who could shatter time. With his zero drive, Ekko watches the world stop around him as everything, including himself, wrenches backwards to where it was a few seconds ago. Time rewinds, and Ekko remembers everything. It's a marvelous feat of engineering that no one from the top side could ever hope to accomplish. But it's how Ekko uses that ability that's truly inspiring. He only has a couple of seconds, which means he never gets to fully reset an event. Instead, he's locked into a specific moment, and has to squeeze everything he can out of it. His manipulation of time isn't a crutch, it gives him another chance to act. The rest is up to his own determination. He rewinds over and over and over again to maximize those precious seconds. Whether it's reading the fight pattern of an enemy, desperately trying to save the life of a friend, or reaching out to the woman he loves as she stands on the edge of self-destruction. While the world sees Ekko as the quick-thinking genius with lightning-fast reflexes, Ekko experiences every failure until he gets it right, driven by a stubborn appreciation for life in a place designed to grind people down. In a place where lives are treated like scrap, Ekko insists on treating every single one like it's worth rewinding time for. He creates an oasis to shelter people, free from the metaphorical and literal toxicity that surrounds them. He leads a crew of fellow Zonites to rid his city of highly addictive drugs. He keeps rewinding, keeps trying, keeps investing in a future everyone else has written off as hopeless. The rest of the world may forget about the average citizens of Zon. Ekko never will. He'll keep fighting to carve out more time for them in a place that thinks they don't deserve any. "24. The journey through Resident Evil 4 is uniquely nightmarish. The settings are just beautifully crafted for a horror experience. You know you did something right when almost every corner you turn you're like, nope. The eerie village isolated from the rest of the world in the mountains of a foreign land is enough to send chills down any spine. Then you add an old castle crawling with cultists and the military base was a little underwhelming. Except for the research labs. I've been in research labs, man. It was already kinda spooky to be the last one to lock up and leave. These bozos did not help with that fear. These aren't zombies, but rather people infected with parasites that grant them power through body horror and put them under someone else's control. They're a hive mind, but the most unsettling part is that they can still think. They use weapons and strategically swarm you on purpose. Seeing an abuela with bloodshot eyes, enhanced strength and durability, walking at you with a knife is terrifying, and it only escalates from there. More weapons, some using armor, and then there's this abomination that I'm pretty sure is only our problem because it got kicked out of hell. And because these are people with functional bodies, they can speak. The guttural shouts of the villagers, the haunting rhythmic chants of the cultists, the psychotic cackling of the soldiers, it's just an assault on the ears meant to strike the soul of the player. You need to have nerves of steel to willingly walk through this godforsaken region of the world. Leon may have had the best taxpayer-funded super special secret agent training, but I doubt they trained him for the kind of situations and monsters he encounters in Spain's version of Hell on Earth. And yet, Leon has a mission that acts like a North Star in the darkness. Rescue the president's daughter, Ashley Graham. This man's ability to stay focused and alert is inspiring, but what really stands out is how he keeps bouncing back every time he loses her. I can't really blame him for having Ashley taken from him as many times as he does. It's a literal army versus a one-man army. Besides being a cracked shot, he's resourceful. He uses whatever is available around him. When he gets infected with the same parasite, he makes an unlikely ally in Luis and buys more time with his help. Leon is constantly adapting to the situation, and that's why he makes his way back to Ashley, even when he's dropped into the cavernous depths below a castle. But the most cathartic moment is that last push to Luis's lab. The parasite stirs within Leon more intensely than ever, weakening his grip on reality as he carries Ashley towards their only salvation. The strength of his mind and body is quickly collapsing, but he pushes through the mental invasion. There's no outmaneuvering here, no outgunning, and not enough herbs in the world to survive through this moment. Just raw tenacity fueled by something deeply personal.
This time, it has to be different.
A line that reveals everything. Leon is not just completing a mission, he's trying to do better than before. This is not his first run-in with an outbreak. Leon quite possibly had the worst first day at a job ever. He gets hired as a cop, and the same day the whole city falls to a zombie epidemic. And as he navigates the collapsing society, he meets people. Ordinary civilians it should have been his job to protect. And no one makes it. He couldn't save a single person, including the fellow officer who helped him. Leon carries the tragedies of the Raccoon City incident with him as he clings onto Ashley's body. He couldn't save those from the past, but this time it has to be different. He will save her. It's a beautiful scene of Leon's ironclad resolve to keep moving forward. He isn't just surviving monsters, but refusing to let past failures stop him from trying. He will push through the pain of the parasite and the weight of the past so that at least one person gets to live a life beyond the nightmare he's already seen once before. '23. Oh shit, an entry from a game actually released this year? Who would have thought? Dispatch is a game about making choices, but despite the branching paths, the main character's core personality is pretty consistent enough for me to include on the list. Robert Robertson might have the most hilariously basic name in the world, but he's far from generic. He is Mecha Man, one of the biggest heroes around, and part of an illustrious lineage, who, after a failed run-in with a villain, is now a 9-to-5 superhero call center customer service rep, sitting at a desk while others get to be the heroes. And not just anyone, rookie heroes who used to be villains. It's like if Iron Man suddenly became a call center rep for the Guardians of the Globe. That's maybe a bit harsh. I actually like the Z team. But no matter how you frame it, it's a downgrade. While others might have at least a little bitterness, a little back in my day energy, Robert never goes there. There's no whining about his former status, no clinging to past glory. He takes the job and adapts quickly. He devotes himself to it fully, standing up for his team even when the head of the program doubts him. He doesn't just accept their standards for the Z team, he raises them and becomes one of the only sources of faith in them. The team gives him plenty of shit the moment they meet him. First thing he hears is them laughing at his name. They're technically punching up here. Robert is the famous ex-frontliner, but at no point does he try to pull rank, even when he finally does reveal his superhero identity. He eats the jokes, rolls with the punches, and meets them where they are. He treats them like people worth investing in, with some of the most grounded and real responses in the game. The answer he gives to the reporter is our first real glimpse into his mindset. He acknowledges how bad the situation is without a hint of self-loathing. You don't need to have the personality of Joy from Inside Out to have a positive outlook, and Robert is proof of that. His calm confidence and down-to-earth approach are exactly what gets these former villains to start taking their second chance seriously. By the end, he doesn't just get his suit back, he also gets a solid team. He didn't spend the game pining for what he'd lost. He poured himself into what he'd been given, and bounced back stronger than ever. Robert's resilience isn't about shrugging off damage or refusing to feel bad. It's about having enough confidence in who you are to adapt to any role, to any people, without losing yourself. Even without the suit, that quiet, steady resilience is exactly what made him the hero these rookies needed. "22. Is this cheating? Well, if I really wanted to cheat the list and talk about an anime instead of a game, then Kakarot would have been the best option. We could talk about the plethora of Dragon Ball moments that feed my gym motivational playlist, slap on the gorgeous cinematics from Kakarot, and call it a day. But I want to talk specifically about Dragon Ball FIGHTERZ because of what it's meant to me in terms of resilience. I've come to realize that fighting games are one of the best catalysts for exploring oneself. Fully throwing yourself into the genre and succeeding demands an admirable amount of resilience that I don't think gets enough credit simply because we're only talking about video games. The whole experience is a microcosm of real life. Frustration, growth, humiliation, adaptation, all in 99 seconds or less. Unless you play Smash, because who plays timed mode in that? Of course, this kind of growth wouldn't be anywhere near as possible without a rival pushing you forward. My friend Sojex was the one to put me onto this game, but what he didn't tell me is that he was a demon. By now, you've probably noticed the footage I'm showing makes this look like a one-player game. Allow me to remind you there is another player controlling the poor soul getting his shit rocked. That would be me. Sojex adores this game and has been in its lab for years. He's used most of the roster, studied frame data, and has a collection of teams he loves running. FIGHTERZ is the only universe I've seen where Krillin and Yamcha are some of the biggest threats. And his personal philosophy is unrelenting. It doesn't matter how new you are, he will play his best. Otherwise, it's a waste of everyone's time. Sounds a little harsh, but I kinda get it. If you genuinely want to enjoy any fighting game, you should understand what the ceiling looks like. Because that's what makes the genre exciting. Seeing combatants creatively use every tool at their disposal to win. Holding back is like playing chess with half of the pieces missing. With FIGHTERZ, the shock is immediate. The combo potential is ridiculous, and without matchup knowledge or awareness of each character's gap, you're stuck blocking for most of the match. Mix that with the spice of anime power fantasy, and it perfectly emulates that feeling of shock characters experience when they realize the difference in power. Understandably, a lot of people don't push past this initial shock. They either get scared off or they realize that the game would be a huge investment in time. But once you push past it, you realize, yeah, that's true. Fighting game tutorials are abysmally incompetent, forcing you to find help outside of the game. Like any other multiplayer genre, fighting games are sustained by their communities. If you don't have other people to fight, then you'll never experience what the game is really capable of. So you'll find yourself relying on passionate players who took the time to create their own tutorials. Did you know FIGHTERZ has a universal combo? The game was designed with that intention, but it sure as hell doesn't tell you what it is. And don't even get me started on the terminology. Bread and butter, not a practical but delicious breakfast option. DP, in this context, is in fact SFW. Happy birthday! That was back on October 3rd, man. You're late. Fighting games really do have their own language that you have to learn from the internet just to understand what people are talking about. But you can only accomplish so much in training mode. The only real learning happens in the ring, which demands something else from you: managing your pride. You know the Dark Souls tagline, prepare to die? Just tack on "you will lose" at the bottom of every fighting game. Losing is baked into the experience, and it can be infuriating, because it's your competence that's being tested. When you lose, it's your fault. You didn't play as well, misread your opponent's actions, or simply don't know the matchup yet. It's only rare cases where it's not your fault. You can't let your pride blind you to your own mistakes, or the chance to learn from the other person. Let me tell you, it's quite the humbling experience to be taught by the same person you want to desperately thrash. You have to tame the pettiness and anger long enough to recognize the opportunity in front of you. This is especially true for FIGHTERZ, besides the game being, get the f*** out. Not everyone has a breathing fighting game encyclopedia they can ping at a moment's notice. It's true that the constant stream of L's is infuriating, but it's equally true that I wouldn't have improved at all without Sojex's help. I don't ever want to be the guy who hurls his controller at the wall. It is how one handles their L that builds the path to the W. Bruce Lee. Maybe. I don't know. That's where the Dragon Ball DNA really shows. Humbling yourself to learn and improve alongside someone else. Pacing yourself with knowledge and practice. The never-ending pursuit of bettering oneself. These are core Dragon Ball themes, thus making it a perfect fit for a fighting game. In FIGHTERZ, mastering a character feels satisfying. The game's attention to detail immerses you into the planet-busting power struggles with each combo, but you know how many failed attempts and ego deaths it took to get there. You'll never experience that high if you don't control your emotional reactions, learn about the new environment you're stepping into, and connect with a larger community for support. Those are the same skills you need to navigate life. In a weird way, it's like a training arc in emotional resilience, learning to be terrible at something, but keep showing up anyway. Although this experience has more to do with me as a newbie to fighting games, it is undeniable that FIGHTERZ is the spark that lit that fire. I've probably done more soul searching by trying to best my friend in an anime fighting game than any self-help book could have bullied me into doing. And fittingly for a Dragon Ball game, every time you get knocked down, it's on you to see how you come back a bit stronger. And it's not by leaving the game right before you're gonna lose, you coward!